you are invited to participate. So we'll introduce ourselves, we'll introduce the topic, ask a few questions, but then you're invited to come sit here and participate in the discussion. So in the back of your mind, be thinking about what questions would you like to challenge the group with? Or challenge us, because we're supposed to be the regenerative experts here, but honestly, is anyone really an expert in regenerative economics here? I mean, it's all pretty new, right? What do you think? Yeah, so we're all figuring it out. Okay, background, my name's Ashley. I got into crypto in 2014. I was at a think tank studying alternative economic systems, came across things like local currencies, mutual credit, thought they were really cool, but also thought that they had trouble getting traction. Then Ethereum came out, and it seemed pretty obvious that Ethereum as a concept, or maybe like decentralized consensus mechanisms, broadly speaking, could help scale a lot of these little experiments that had been going around on the world in alternative economics. So that's what my work has been about. I was the first person hired for a company called Consensus, which did a lot to help launch the Ethereum ecosystem. That was my background. I've been in and out of the crypto space, toying with disillusionment, which is my favorite topic, in terms of how the ideas have been thwarted by the dynamics of short-term returns. So most of my work focuses on how do we overcome that and still build things that are useful. And the way I'm doing that now, I have a project which is called Resource. It's resource.finance. We are a protocol that allows for alternative value exchange and exchange amongst alternative value sources. I'm not going to go too much into detail unless, like, in particular you guys want to go into detail, but the short of it is we're focusing on places where financial services don't really work. So we're mostly working in Africa right now, and sorry to clarify when I say don't work. For a lot of people around the world, even if you can access like bank accounts on your phone, this kind of stuff, you can't really get a credit line, you can't like really open a small business without paying ridiculous amounts of interest, and that drives a lot of people into default just out of like basic needs, not even like out of wanting to default, right? And so the financial system is broken in a lot of places around the world. I focus on what can we actually do about that. So that is my intro. I'm gonna kick it to Juan.
Okay. First, I just want to know what is the first language, the native language of each one of you? Italian. Is your first language? Your first? Okay, you? What is your first language? Okay, you? Why we talk in English? This is inclusion, yeah? So if we want to be like inclusive and regenerative, we have to have, I know the English is like the main language around the world, but maybe we can have like some talks in different language. We can have a stage for different language, because if we are not talking in each country language, we are in Barcelona, so Barcelona, the official language is Spanish or Catalan. So, and mostly of the people that is here in the conference is from Barcelona, speak Spanish. So we are closing the doors to people that don't speak Spanish. Maybe here in Barcelona we have a lot of people that maybe can speak English, but in Latin America, for example, for the people it's very hard to get in a conference. So if we want to be inclusive and we want to include more people in the regenerative stuff and in the the whole crypto stuff, we need to start doing things in different language. I'm not saying that we are gonna quit about English because it's the most common language, but we need to start doing different things. And just like an introduction of I'm just an agricultural engineer. I'm also like I study like computer stuff, so but I don't code. I have been working like 12 years with the government doing like stuff for the alimentary disorders of the family, just teaching the people how to have their own auto-sustainable farm in houses, everything like this, and trying to preserve forests, but the government is not like the best to do that. Maybe not because they don't want, it's because the bureaucracy and a lot of different things happening is difficult. So I start a project that wants to preserve some forests around the city. And I also, like 3 months ago, start like the local node in Medellin for trying to do more stuff in our local language and try to bring more people. I understand the content in English, and I can translate and just give to the people and try to bring them to the refi ecosystem. And yeah, that's what I'm doing. I don't know. I'm trying to do a podcast. Let's see what happens in Spanish, because I think maybe the podcast could be like a great way to people get engaged in Spanish, and maybe they can get into the refi space. Sorry, but I need to say that we need to speak in different language.
Yeah, I mean, feel free to speak in Spanish for this too.
No. We can, all of us speaking English is just if we are going outside,
Yeah.
we need to speak in the local language.
They also have those like translator headsets that work really well, so we could also just be implementing that as a solution at these conferences.
Yeah. Sometimes it's like a good improvement, but I feel it's not the same. It's not the same vibes when you speak in your local language. When I speak in Spanish, I feel like more, because I don't have like the same vocabulary to explain a lot of situations. So when you speak in your language, you have like the whole experience to explain what is happening. But yeah, this is a good improvement, but I don't see those things in this conference, or I don't know, I never asked, but just try to be more inclusive with the language.
So I think we're bringing up this topic of inclusivity, and we're talking about regenerative economies. And to me, they're very related, but I don't think we're often speaking about the how of how they're related. So I would love to hear your perspective on what is the relationship between financial inclusion, financial equity, and regeneration, and hear from others as well.
Okay, this is one of the problems. I don't understand like really well the question.
So financial inclusion
Yeah.
and regeneration, how are they similar and different? Are they the same?
Similar or different? I think regeneration is different from financial inclusion, but financial inclusion can help to regenerate. Because a lot of people that, for example, has their own farms, and they have like the farms for auto-sustainability, but they don't have access to a credit, or if they have access, the rates are super high. So you get a loan and you finish paying like the double. Or, for example, in Colombia or in Latin America, we have like gangs. It's not gangs, it's like illegal credits, microcredits that are super high, and if you don't pay at the moment or at the date, they just kill you. So this is, if we try to avoid these problems and people can just take a loan with a normal rate, I think we can have more people in the mountains, doing like farming and stuff like that, because people just migrate to the cities because the lack of opportunities. So I think financial inclusion maybe can help to have more regenerative activities or entrepreneur in the mountains or in the farms, but we need to give them access to the money.
I was just going to say, for me, I think sometimes with regeneration, there's a narrow focus on it just being to do with nature and forests and regrowing forests, whereas actually I would argue that financial inclusion is like an integral part of what regenerative economics is. If we think of regeneration as building resource capacity and we apply that in an economic situation, how can we have a regenerative kind of economy if people can't access a financial system, if people can't get a loan, if people are completely excluded? That's not regenerative economically for them or for society, and it's, I think, yeah, the antithesis of regeneration. So I think they're very much intertwined, and I think refi as a sector needs to do a better job at integrating. Me and Ashley were talking about this, about integrating financial inclusion, financial services, financial empowerment, equity within the notion of refi, and that's why I'm keen to learn more about this co-fi, collaborative finance concept as well, and as a part of refi. So
I thought Ashley project is doing something like for giving credits to the people based on recycling or something. Can you explain how the project works? Because I think it's like a good explain how you can just give money to the people.
Yeah, so the way that our platform works, it's based on this concept called mutual credit, which is basically a system that we can all use to borrow from each other, but we don't have to borrow money from each other. So the concept would be, we're in a farming community in Colombia, and I have corn, you have a school, you have laundry, you can watch kids, etc., etc. Oftentimes in communities like this, because it's difficult for us to get access to money and credit, what do? We basically trade with each other. So I go to the school and I say, I can't pay because I don't have money, and the school says, that's okay. You can pay in a few months. You can pay with corn, right? Or you can pay with money when you get it. And the school is basically now becoming like a bank, and they're writing down that you owe them something. And right now, in a lot of places around the world, people are doing that to get by, but they're doing it all like one-to-one. So like you and I have a relationship, you and her have a relationship, you and him, right? So it's not very connected. So the idea is, can we connect all of those value sources together and turn that into a credit system? I think the answer is yes, and people have done this in a lot of places around the world, but oftentimes it's run by people who don't actually have financial backgrounds and training, so the currency collapses. So what we're trying to do is say, can we take the best of what we know from modern finance and implement it in these types of community-based systems? Why might that be better? Because we don't have to charge compounding interest rates to make this happen. And you can also run these systems not for profit. Or the community can decide, to run their own system and take the profit and invest it back in themselves. So it's a new form of credit that doesn't keep rewarding the people who provide the money in the first place. It actually becomes a community-owned source of new types of capital. But I guess I need to pass the ball. Okay, how do I pass the ball? And the major thing that I think about is, I've been in this idea space almost 10 years. I've seen a lot of really great ideas be presented, met a lot of cool people doing a lot of amazing things, but I observe that a lot of the ideas have yet to translate into making real world impact. My question for everybody is, why is that, and how can we change that?
Yeah, but can you just repeat the last thing, the question? You're talking about the language. Yeah, we have a lot of ideas, but how to get these ideas translated to?
It's why have the ideas not actually been implemented and making impact in the real world, as opposed to just always coming to conferences and talking about the ideas?
I don't know, but for me it's like we are like always the same with the same. So we are always seeing the same face everywhere in the world, around the world. I just meet the same persons. And okay, we have the opportunity to travel, to go, to speak, to discuss, but if you need to implement an idea or a project, you need real people involved. You need the farmer. And the farmer, for example, in my country, the farmers just have they don't have smartphones. They have I don't know what is the name, but the Nokia 1100.
Feature phone.
Yeah, it's super, and they don't have internet access. You need to you are in a farm, and you need to get out of the table and just go under the tree to try to get signal. Is super difficult. So we say, okay, Web3 and crypto is super easy because you don't have frontiers. You can send money everywhere, but you need to have a phone. You need to have internet connection. You need to get some knowledge because it's not easy. Sometimes it's not easy. When I try to explain people, hey, just download MetaMask, open your wallets and crypto, they just don't understand. So we need to do things for people more easy, simple.
Maybe before we focus on the Web3 software side, we need to club together all of, how many people have 5 old mobile phones or smartphones lying around in a drawer, or what do you do with it? Imagine how many we could pull together, bring to these communities, and then we could start to implement decentralized sovereign internet networks that connect, maybe that's, and you can almost implement a helium type model with that, whatever it is. Maybe that's the kind of bridge that is missing to really empower and bring something to these communities first, level them up, and then it's okay, we can get to the application layer, the software layer.
Yeah.
So that could be an interesting idea to explore further, maybe.
Helium is really nice because they are trying to, but helium is not for web page or something like that. Helium is just to transmit data of sensors. So helium is not going to solve the internet access. But I'm not saying that we are doing nothing. No, I'm saying that we need to go to the ground and talk to the people and try to understand what are the limitations and try to build products that fulfill the limitation of the people. Yeah, try to make it easy, try to make it more. For example, I just have one simple example that I like so much because it's Valora is one wallet of Celo, and Valora has, I think there is something that you said in the past, people just get into crypto because they just make a lot of money. And this is, we was talking about people doesn't have the knowledge, or maybe we not do the translation and just teach the people what is blockchain and what is for. And for example, in Colombia, if you say, hey, you know about blockchain? Oh yeah. How many money I have to put inside, and what is my return? Because in Colombia, crypto was used for a lot of Ponzi schemes, a lot of scams, a lot of things. So people is super afraid now of using crypto. If you say, okay, just download Valora, you can have your dollars, your saving in dollars, for example, people don't trust because they get scammed a lot of times. So we need to rebuild this trust in crypto and teach people what is crypto and what is for, and crypto is not for Ponzi schemes. And people maybe can come in, can trust, and can start seeing the benefits, but the real benefits is not just put $100 and get back 500. This is not crypto.
Does anybody else have some topics they want to add? All right. Introduce yourself, please. You have to come on the stage for it to work.
I'm Raffaele. I'm a full stack developer. I'm into part of Rifa Italia, which is a chapter of Rifa DAO, and work as a developer from 12 years in the circular economy, waste management, so on the Web2. So I'm coming from that spectrum. And as a developer, I always get this, it's your fault, you are not making the technology usable for other people. At the same time, as a developer, I say, I make the technology, but then the farmers doesn't use it. So it's both a problem of technology and adoptions. So the fault is of, I was thinking, for example, grassroots economics. They have, you can create credits without wallets. You can just send SMS to solve the problem that he was mentioning. So yeah, I think the real problem is adoption, but adoption it's something that comes from the user perspective, but also from the developer's perspective. So yeah, just wanted to add this.
So what's the top thing you think we should focus on to solve that problem?
Yeah, on one side, I think, we have to find a way of, for example, I was working for Airbnb, which is an alternative of Airbnb. The concept is very simple. They give 50% of their fee to local projects. And it's a Web2 project. There is no wallet. There is no friction on using it. I was the developer. I was involved in it. But when I had to go to vacation, I used Airbnb. Because at the end, it's a matter of incentives, as he was saying. So maybe the things that we have new in the Web3 ecosystem are incentives. And we can create different kind of incentives for the builders, but also for the for people that are going to use the products. And so maybe in the Web3 version of Airbnb, I will have another incentive to still say, okay, it's hard for me to find the right place at the right price in the right area that I want to stay, but I have another incentive. And I like the things I'm doing. I'm contributing to a local project, so I have double incentive. And maybe at that point I will choose Airbnb instead of Airbnb. So I don't have a question, I don't have an answer to the issue. I'm just sharing my point of view.
Yeah, I also don't have an answer. First, you should 100% do the technology better. That's completely your fault. No, just kidding. So something I'm saying is that a lot of projects compete in technology, and everyone trying to push in the needle better for better feature, faster, harder, better. But it turns out that technology very easily becomes table stakes because everything is open source and everything happens to be just forked and going away. So I really think that what makes one blockchain or one project actually different from the other, even if they use the same code, is the values of the community that they have behind. And that kind of reverse the equation. You obviously need technology, right? Because you need to enable something, but think about the Uniswap code, how many times it was forked, and the projects from the outside look completely different. So yeah, that's one of the reasons I'm very interested in what the actually communities want to build, and then iterating from there. And then the technology it becomes a commodity like really, really soon.
Even the SMS, it's a solution we already, and if it comes from the community, then it's already a solution that can work.
Hi, I'm Maria Salcedo. I work on design, everything related to design about Web3. And I think I have a perspective from UX design. So, for example, when you said about, oh yeah, you need to work on the functionality and usability, but actually the developers have to work on the functionality, but designers have laid the skills to work on usability to make things easier for the regular people. So I think we have a UX problem in Web3. Web3 brings a lot of new terminology and jargon and everything. Part of them can be solved through design, and part of them need to solve through technology. So for example, talking just about wallets, like creating a wallet is difficult for regular people because it's like, oh yes, you need to store these 12 words, and you need to store them because if you don't do that and you lose them, you can lose like all your assets on your wallet, right? And people are like, wow, but I just need a username and password, and if I lose my password, I just have to, oh yeah, record my password and that's it. So it's like a barrier of entry, but then developers work on ERC 4337, and now we can have wallets without the recovery phrase. So yes, we see development in terms of technology on usability, but also in terms of design. And I think it's also awareness to founders, because some of the founders are like, oh yes, I have like this vision for my project, and I think that I can solve these needs. But when they ask their community, like some of them don't really listen to their community, because I think those are the needs, but maybe there aren't the needs, the actual needs. And you need to start talking with like the real people that is working on those projects, and that they will use the product. So I think so.
I think if we want to build products for the people, we need to listen to people. And for example, I just go to the people in Colombia and I say, hey, you know what? You can download Valora and you can receive crypto, and you have a shop, so you can receive crypto. And I say, hey, you can avoid taxes. Yeah, this is an advantage. But people just say, but it's in dollars. For me, it's super difficult to have, like, one Coke is, I don't know, 5,000 pesos. So today is $1, tomorrow is 1.5. It's more work for me. I don't want to do that. I need a local currency, yeah? And we just have the dollars, USDT, USDC, DAI, etc. We have the euros, some. We have, Celo have the Brazilian currency, okay. Tether makes the Mexican peso that was not successful, but it's because people needs to start using. But I think we need to do local currencies because people is used to think in local currency for daily expense. okay, you can do savings in dollars because you are avoiding the inflation, the devaluation. But if we want crypto to go mainstream and do daily transactions, we need local currencies. And if we have, for example, these local currencies, people can start doing like more business, more projects, because it's more easy for people to say, hey, use my project. I don't know, and this is like a sense of of some communities, but it's I don't know, but it's like sometimes we don't listen to the communities, and we build the things that we think are necessary, and those things are not necessary. There are other different things.
If we did listen more, what else besides stable coins in local currencies is important? I'll start with you, but anyone else?
No, I just think because we can have a lot of use cases and a lot of products that maybe, for example, we can try to do like a circular economy, but if we don't have the local currency, the circular economy is not going to work. So I think the first thing we need is like local currency or community currencies. That I have heard like some ideas in this event, people talking about community currencies. And if we have this community or local currencies, whatever, I think people start doing more ideas and more projects. And I think a lot of projects will be around refi, because a lot of people can do refi projects, but they need to be like in their local community. I don't know if Martin has some.
To me, people gain trust on things when they can actually understand what's going on. And we have this paradigm in crypto where you have a lot of composability. That means that you can make a lot of different stuff, but at the same time, it gets more and more difficult to understand, and the risks layer up. So instead of saying like, yeah, so this is the project, this is the feature, you start like with the very complicated charts, like your money goes in here, it gets staked, then it gets landed, and the more things that you stacked up, the more things that actually can go wrong. So I always lean towards the simplicity, but obviously you cannot, like, it doesn't make sense to have thousands of lending protocols, right? You just want to have one and build on top of that. So here I still like wrapping my hair around it. And I will send it back to you regarding what were the barriers for resource network regarding like seed phrase recovery and wallets. Have you been a limitant for that?
We're not starting with that type of a wallet. So we're using Biconomy, and it's login with a phone number. Seed phrase is stored on your phone. It is possible to log in with Valora or a more decentralized wallet, but we're not promoting owning your funds as the primary purpose, because the people we're working with don't have much funds in the first place, so that's more of a first world problem in terms of hacking. Even though, of course, we do want to go there, but we don't start there. And the second thing about our protocol, so in particular the way that we work, you can't transfer the credits, which are local currency. So in Kenya, it's tied to the shilling, but you can't transfer them outside of a network that exists. So there's less reason for a hacker to want to get access to them. So we also don't have that particular problem at this stage.
Hello.
Hello. Cool. Not really answering like the last question, but coming back like to the point I think like of the how can Web3 be somehow like more accessible to yeah, other communities, other countries, and so on. I think taking kind of like an analogy of like the language. First of all, I think that's a really good point, kind of like the language barrier. But at the same time, I think the point wouldn't only to be like doing translations, but to support and incentive the development of a local ecosystem for for using this technology and applying for local problems. So I think like today you have pretty much more or less kind of like unified, not unified, but like international Web3 and like refi ecosystems, but you don't really have so much of these like local communities. So for example, let's say in Colombia or in Brazil or in different countries, you have some places that I've kind of noticed that are that have a quite well-developed like ecosystem, but I think it's not really the kind of main situation for most countries and like context communities. And I think one kind of like theme for that, kind of like taking approach of the language, is not only like to just take the things that are already like written or produced in English and then translate them to the local language, but to support these local communities like to grow, to then develop their own material that basically somehow have the voice of that country, the voice of that culture, and kind of is more able like to resonate with people, because a lot of times like the context is kind of like everything. And together with that, I think on the taking like the knowledge of the language and putting a little bit more on the development side of things, I think what I personally think could be like interesting would be to see more. I think there's a lot of development and a lot of some solutions that are pretty much fully already backed somehow. So you have a lot of like full solutions that are then promoted like to be applied into different contexts. But I think what could be interesting to see like local communities adopt like the technology and so on is to how can there could be like a better education somehow of all these different pieces of infrastructure or these different pieces of technology, so that local people, local developers, first of all like influence the education like of developers of coding like in different places of the world. And then let support these people to basically take all this, like the Legos, like of the infrastructure, and build something that is like relevant and fit into the local necessities, basically. Because sometimes it may be quite different than what somehow more international Web3 or refi ecosystem would think that the communities needs, and maybe there's like a missing point that makes like a solution not be completely compatible with a local context and these kind of things. So yeah, just my quick take on that.
Sounds like a question for Refi DAO.
Okay, before Monthly says something, I just want to say that, for example, we in the refi local node, imagine, we are trying to do like not activities with the same persons. We are just trying to do like, okay, we are gonna do a hike to a hill, just pick some garbage. This is the invitation. And the people that pick up more garbage, like won the first place, is gonna get $20, for example, in a price. So we just go and hike and have some fun and just pick up some garbage, because it's people that is super intentional to be like a preservation. They like to do that. So when they won, we say, okay, you won $20, but it's in crypto. You need to download a wallet, and we explain. We don't explain about blockchain, about anything, just how to use a wallet. Okay, download this wallet, this is how this works. We have made like 2 or 3 events since we begins with this community. We have really new people. We do the convocatory and just we have 5 new people, 3 new people, the same 10 that every time they come, but 3 new ones, 5 new ones. So we try to expand and get new people into the crypto and into the ReFi ecosystem, and they understand that they can do a lot of things with crypto. And for example, last week we onboard a new foundation. Is a friend, like has been working like 10 years doing farms of sustainable things, and I explained them how to participate in Bitcoin rounds and stuff like that, and he just get into crypto because he understands what is happening. But before he talks to me, he was super afraid of crypto. But so I think if we build communities and we do different activities, not just, okay, this is a talk, I'm going to talk about blockchain, this is not the way. Just do some fun stuff, get the trust of the people, and then you can onboard them and explain it like in a different way.
I think really interesting what you're saying. I think what you describe is like exactly one of the core missions of ReFi DAO, is we actually have a bunch of these ReFi and other Web3 applications, and instead of just having crypto events in other locations of the world with other people who are just in crypto and like, yeah, let's all just buy Bitcoin, which is only appealing to a kind of small demographic, like how can we actually implement these protocols on the ground with the people there, by the local people, for the local people, and like that as a model. Like we've got this most amazing technology, but how do we get from the idea stage and the kind of crypto bubble into actually using these things in the real world and having impact? Well, it needs to be done by these local communities with the connection to the global networks that can access the resources, the technologies and the knowledge and the culture to help build that and spread that in these local nodes. So I think it's so exciting what you're saying and what you're doing. And I know Louise is looking into a ReFi Barcelona node, and we went on a cooperatives and commons tour on the first day we were here, and there's a thriving co-op community in Barcelona. And so I'm thinking, okay, with the ReFi Barcelona node, like how can those local actors be engaged and involved, and how can we up level what they're doing with, they've got their own community currency, like that could be made so much, we all know how much we can improve that potentially with some of the technologies that we're talking about. So I think that for me feels like the really exciting opportunity. And just as like an example, the ReFi Lisboa node in Lisbon, 60% of the people who are coming to the events are not in crypto. And like that for me feels like where we need to start going. They're coming because they're interested to learn more, and they're in regeneration, they're in adjacent impact fields. And now we actually have got to the stage where we have the stuff to actually engage with this on a local level and implement these solutions. So yeah, that's what's getting me excited.
Just one thing that maybe we always think that, okay, crypto, I have Twitter, everything, but for example in Colombia nobody has Twitter. I mean, people have Twitter, but it's for political stuff, or they just open a Twitter account like 5 years ago and never use that. So for ReFi Medellin we implement Instagram, so because in Colombia a lot of people use Instagram. Yeah, it's the way to engage
WhatsApp,
people.
Instagram, use the tool. Each node has, uses the tools that are relevant to the local context.
We still are in Twitter, but we are trying to make some content in Instagram to bring people, because we want to bring normal people into crypto. This is adoption, and this is like spreading the word, not always the same with the same.
I really like this idea about going from local to global, but I guess you also need a way to aggregate all those efforts. And going back to the technology point, a lot of those locals things, they have different needs, but the tools they could use, like you're using Instagram, right? Like it's one of mainstream tools, they just repeats over and over. So I'm very enthusiastic about the velocity we can iterate, because there's like a lack of bureaucracy, like 3 people can join together, raise a little bit of capital, make a DAO and start making decisions. And that can go very fast local, and then we can move something like upstream to share what works and what didn't, so that people in other places don't share the same mistake. But I'm also really curious how, if you're thinking some other mechanism for bottom-up, as I'm very interested on the
Yeah, so what you're describing is essentially the structure of RefiDAO as a decentralized autonomous organization. So there's the autonomous local nodes that are started, and local communities that are started by local people, local founders, right? As an autonomous DAO, like you say. But then there's also the global infrastructure, the global community, the whole Refi ecosystem. I've been building a knowledge graph, which is connecting all of the people, projects, events, content, impact, deal flow to get this really rich knowledge engine so we can collect all of the best models, the best insights, the best tools, and empower the local communities to use those. We're building a passport that helps to manage, access and all this kind of stuff. So the aim of the global community and the RefiDAO core team is to build the tools, the infrastructure that support the formation and the development of these local communities all the world, and like you say, share over the global network the best tools and resources to mutualize them together in a kind of global commons, but with local instances.
Now that we have you here, can you share a detail of like the craziest project that you have seen in one of these local nodes?
Craziest projects?
Or like, something like out of the box?
Yeah. I mean, I love what's happening in the Costa Rica node. I think it's really exciting. They've got already a vibrant community space. They've got local food forests.
You should go there.
I should go there. Yeah, I mean, I'd love to.
I guess you're fine. You're already talking.
We can just pass the mic around in the audience now. Whoever wants to speak.
No, continue. Sorry.
Yeah, so I mean, she just posted a short of like, imagine if you look in your fridge and every single thing in there was coming from a regenerative practice, whether it's in your local area or whether there's an interconnected set of nodes that are trading regenerative products and services with each other. Imagine we start a sovereign internet that all of these nodes can participate in, and suddenly you're providing, they're self-sustainable in energy and using the latest kind of peer-to-peer energy networks. The way circular economy kind of waste systems, we're setting up mutual credit networks in the ones that it makes sense, and so really there's sort of boundless opportunity to experiment with all of these regenerative solutions within each of these communities, and each community is going to be experimenting with a different set of these tools, and it'll be exciting to see what we learn, I think. But we're just at the beginning.
Yeah, Costa Rica is really, I like the vibes of, but for like complementing your answer to what Martin asked about, is we also set up like, it's not a node, it's just like social media accounts of Latin America to aggregate the local nodes of Latin America. And we are thinking about doing a podcast in Spanish that we have a Twitter space last week with Costa Rica, Medellin, and Refi Latin America account, and we invite Daryl from RefiDAO, was the first space of Refi Latin America account, but was like 50 people connected and speaking in Spanish. In like, it's not just Spanish. It's the expressions of every country. It feels like more the community. So we are doing this, and hopefully we are going to do the Spanish podcast, and not just in Spanish, like in local, speaking like the local words, like feeling more like in family or something like that. And I just want to know, because in the dashboard, when you build a local community, you can have like people that belong to the local community, but you can also have projects listed in the dashboard. So I think this is like a good way when you try to